This RC Beginner Series is brought to you by Horizon Hobby. Hey, welcome to Flight Test. I'm Josh. This is Josh.
Hi.
And today we are talking about crashing.
Everyone does it.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen to you. It happens to us.
We have a problem. What happened?
You hit
what happened?
Oh, man!
Well, now what can you expect when you crash? Well, you're gonna be heartbroken.
It's gonna feel like someone hit you in the gut.
You might sob like a little girl.
Yeah. May cry. It may make a big commotion. And that's just you personally. That's not even talking about the airplane.
No.
But you know what? Don't worry. This is part of the hobby. And it sounds like kind of a negative. But just as you crash the plane, you have the ability to repair the plane and have the experience all over again.
And you learn something from it.
And you learn. Every time you crash, you take something away that is going to make you a better pilot.
Right. Alright, so what can we expect to find on the plane itself?
Well, one thing's definitely evident. Planes just generally don't crash tail first.
No.
Generally, all the damage is going to happen in the front part of the airplane.
Wings or something.
Because you're going to come down and hit the ground, you know, something
Careful.
like that. No, that's meant to take a beating. You know, this is a good time to plug a video.
Which one?
The Check Your Crap video.
Check your crap.
Check your crap. Now, we're not cussing. It's an acronym.
Is that a cuss word to you?
Crap.
Yeah.
My mama doesn't like me saying it.
Oh, hope she doesn't see this.
I hope not either.
So CRAP stands for the 4 basic things that you want to check on your plane after you have a crash. C is your control surfaces.
Yep. R is your rips and tears.
A is the angles of the plane.
Yep. And P is your power system, which is your anywhere from your props, your motors, all the way back through your servos and things like that.
We have a video that covers this a lot more extensively, so you can find the link below and check it out.
Predominantly, the prop is going to be one of the first things to hit the ground.
Right.
So one thing to keep in mind whenever you have your props, always inspect your props after every flip over or hard crash or even light crash for that matter. If you look here, most props on electrics are made of plastic. Okay? They're flexible. But you see that little white guy right there? The little white stress mark?
Yeah.
That may not seem that bad. Don't use it, friends.
No.
The centrifugal force going around, the thrust pulling forward, this is a weak mark here. And this is going to go... Exactly. You don't know when it's going to go, you don't know if it's going to go. But God forbid it does go, you're going to have horrible vibrations, loss of power, or God forbid it hits somebody.
In the face.
They're cheap. Go ahead and carry extra props in your toolkit. That way if you have a damaged one, you throw it on in a matter of minutes, you're back up in the air and flying again.
Okay.
Alright, so you go a little bit further.
Yeah. Oh, the motor shaft.
The motor shaft. This is what your prop attaches to. Now, one real key point of advice is if you have a bent motor shaft, you're going to have horrible vibrations, you're going to get loss of power, and it's going to just rattle the whole airframe like crazy. You don't want a bent motor shaft. The easiest way to do that is when you have a new prop on there. If you have a bent prop, it's not going to work. But when you look at the side of it and you actually rotate it, if the whole prop moves back and forth, wobbles, you have a bent motor shaft, my friends. Now, oftentimes motors can have replacement shafts. There's little tiny set screws around there.
Yeah.
Or if it's a really cheap motor, you may just want to just replace the whole motor for about $10.
Okay.
And while we're talking about the prop shafts, one key thing is when these things hit the ground, they're generally hitting into dirt, right?
Yeah.
And you can get dirt inside your motor.
Oh, so you gotta clean that out.
Gotta clean that out. Now, some motors will actually disassemble where the bell will slide off, and you can simply use a brush and brush it off. Other motors are kind of sealed, and you gotta take clips off. You can always use like a little brush and then brush it, and also use air and blow it out.
Yeah.
So you just don't want the motor being bound up, and if you hear like gravelly noise in there, definitely have to make sure, gritty. If you have rocks in there or something, you gotta make sure you get all those out, or it'll do terrible damage to your motor.
Yeah.
Different motors come apart in different ways. Some motors are sealed, you can't take them apart at all without breaking them.
Okay.
So you gotta be careful about that. So we talked about our props, we talked about our motors.
Yeah.
Going back to the speed control.
Right.
Now, one key thing is if you hit the ground and you don't take your hand off the throttle, in other words, you leave your throttle on, there's a good chance you could damage your speed control.
Oh, really? Like burn it up?
Burn it up. So whenever you hit the ground, God forbid, always make sure that throttle goes back immediately.
Okay.
Kill that throttle in a matter of seconds, or you're going to do damage to your speed control. Very, very important.
All right.
Just because your plane comes to a sudden stop doesn't mean your guts inside the plane are going to come to a sudden stop. That battery, the entrails, you got it. If you actually hit hard enough, the battery can fly forward and like hit a screw or something and catch fire. Like that sudden impact will make it explode.
That's awesome.
So it's not a bad idea if you're at a flying field. Hopefully they'll have a fire extinguisher around.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of our friends have even exploded some batteries.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's burning. Oh boy. Do you have a fire extinguisher? I can get one. Yeah, work it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So always check your battery to make sure it's not dented or puffed or any kind of punctures in it.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we had the episode, what, 2 previous to this?
It's a little bit earlier. We talked about batteries, yeah.
Talked about batteries. You know what? If you have any concerns about that, do not charge it, do not use it, get rid of it, and there's ways to dispose of that we talked about in the video.
Yeah, right.
All right?
Okay.
So, check your battery. And this is a good time when you inspect your battery to inspect your whole power system. That's the P in our crap.
Right.
An impact can also cause damage to the servos, especially on ailerons, things like that. Or say they're playing cartwheels and comes around and hits the tail.
Yeah.
That's going to jar the servos.
Right.
Sometimes if they're plastic gear or even if they're metal gear, they can strip. Now, you can't just look at a servo and say, oh yeah, this one's good.
Right.
You got to cycle it because although a servo may look good, the teeth can be completely worn out.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yep.
Nothing there.
Okay.
Or you could have a circumstance where it feels good, but if you don't check it with your controls and take it to the far throws and also put a little bit of tension against it,
Yeah. What is that clicking noise?
that's a broken tooth at the very, very end of the spectrum.
Needs
So
some dental
you
work.
wouldn't know that just chest on the ground. Oh yeah, I'm fine. But if you didn't go to that far extreme throw, you would never know that there's broken teeth there. And say you're in a loop, and you come out of that loop and you want to get full control one way or the other.
Yeah.
And you don't have that. That's bad. That's called a figure 9, and then now you're repairing it all over again.
Okay.
All right. So always check your servos and your linkages from your servos all the way back to your control surfaces.
Yeah.
Because this is connected to your control surfaces, any shock load on that will also possibly cause damage to your control horns here and here. So make sure that these are still nice and tight, that there's no breakage or rips all around it, and that everything is firmly fastened. You should be able to move your control surface and actually move your servo inside there. If you hear clicking, if you hear binding, or if you move this control surface here and this stays put, you know you have a crack somewhere. Very common on foam airplanes, so you got to be careful with that.
All right.
You can always reinforce it with things like credit cards, little gift cards, little thin pieces of plastic. There's lots of different mechanisms.
Make sure they're spent.
Most of what you're going to be dealing with is all pretty visual. And one thing you always want to keep in mind is, as the angles of the things that were before their crash, you need to reestablish that.
Right.
That's why in that CRAP acronym, we have the angles.
Angles, yeah.
Angles are so important, whether it's your wing, control surfaces, or your motor and your firewall, things like that.
Yeah.
If this motor is actually bent down into the right slightly, okay, so if we glue it straight as an arrow,
Right, it's not going to track right.
it's not going to fly the same.
Uh-huh.
And a matter of fact, let's say this plane right here,
Yeah?
we had a little bit of fun with this early. See that?
Uh-oh.
If we just glued this back like this,
That's not good.
nothing good's going to happen. It's going to crash because you know what? Now we have rudder input, we have our control surfaces. Look what it's doing to your elevator when it moves over. Everything's changing here. So you got to reestablish your actual angles back to where they originally were.
Yeah.
Now the neat thing about these kind of planes is you can actually buy replacement fuselages, tail feathers. Most reputable manufacturers, you can go down to your local hobby store, and if they don't have it on the shelf, they can order for you, or you can order it yourself through the internet. So say we didn't want to bother fixing this, we can order a whole new fuselage.
Nice.
But you know what? Don't give up on this. This may look like a bad crash. It really isn't that hard to fix.
Duct tape?
Packaging tape, extreme packaging tape with the cords in it.
Yeah.
Hot glue, foam safe, it's super glue, CA, cyana acrylate. Thank you.
Big
that
words.
was a big word. Those are all excellent to use to repair these. The biggest thing you want is you want to actually use the actual surfaces to come back together. You don't want to fill a void with glue.
Right.
More glue does not mean a stronger joint.
Okay.
Okay, back clean joints and everything is the best.
Okay.
And the neat thing about that is if you get creative and you repair something, you can oftentimes use like vinyl tape or colored tape to actually decorate that area and strategically hide the damaged area.
So your friends will never know.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too: is you crash. It's part of the hobby. Don't be afraid of it. Learn how
Celebrate
to fix it. Embrace it. If you learn how to fix your airplanes, every time that you crash, you're also going to be learning and getting a little bit better at repairing too. So you're advancing yourself in this hobby, even when you have bad things happen.
Okay.
All right. So don't hang up your plane just because you crash.
There's still hope.
Now, it's really important when you're assessing damage on an airplane not to just look at it like this.
Yeah, you want to actually put some stress on all these areas to make sure that it's going to hold up in flight.
Exactly. Well, just like the motor here. The motor's going to be pulling forward.
Right.
You want to make sure that you can pull forward on this so it doesn't come loose. If you're just looking here, it may look all fine and dandy, but if you have a crack in your firewall, you're not going to know
Until you pull
forward. And also, if say you're flying and that motor's rotating, and suddenly it stops, your prop nut could get loose.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that your prop's tight, that your motor's tight. Also things like the wings. You know, the wings are going to be supporting the load of the plane, so they're going to be under a little bit of tension.
So you're going to want to
bend
that
things
tension
a
as
little
well.
bit.
Okay.
You're going to want to go and you're going to want to move things. You're going to move your control surfaces. Say you have a little tiny crease here.
Yeah.
You're not going to know until you actually put a little bit of bend on it and feel that. So don't be afraid to actually get into your airplane and move things around to try to expose cracks. Say say this crack here wasn't too extreme, you're not going to know it's big until you actually put a little bit of bend on it.
Right.
So actually torsioning your plane and moving it around is the best way to find the cracks and the flaws. Put it on the same loads that it have in midair.
Okay.
Okay. Another great thing too is, say you hit the ground and you have some dented foam here.
Yeah.
Oftentimes on a lot of foams, a little bit of warm water can actually remold that foam and bring that dent back out.
Almost like a home remedy.
Yeah, a little home remedy for you. Use real hot water and just kind of run it over there and kind of mold it back out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you can fix a multitude of sins with a little bit of hot water.
Well, thanks, Mom.
And one key thing to when you're doing repairs, keep it simple. Keep it clean. Because if you have like a simple break like this, sanding this off and trying to remake a area to fill that void, you're just killing it with weight and a lack of a strong glue joint. Okay. The best thing to do is, if you have a simple break, simply put some glue in there, put lots of frictions on it, get the angle reestablished, let it dry. You can always follow up afterwards with some like fiberglass tape or some carbon fiber strips, which are very light yet very strong, something to kind of bridge that gap and reinforce it.
Okay.
You always want to make sure that the plane is as strong as it was before the crash.
Right. All right, we've talked a lot about what to do if you crash, but how about how not to crash? There's a lot of things you can do to prevent yourself from crashing.
Yep. One thing is, the second you get in trouble, first thing that goes back is your what?
Throttle.
Your throttle. Throttle it back. Slow it down a little bit. Give yourself time to think.
Yeah.
Also altitude. Keep the plane nice and high.
Yeah.
Keep it as high as you can safely fly it, because you can make more mistakes before it hits the ground. And also, when you get that last mistake, say we always say 3 mistakes high.
Yeah.
When you get the last mistake, the first thing that goes back should definitely be that throttle.
Right.
Then all you need to concentrate on is leveling out the wings.
Just remember, throttle back, Jack.
Yeah, throttle back, get the wings level, and then go ahead and reassess it.
Yeah.
It's much better to fly away and have to do a walk of shame than bringing it back at your feet right into the ground.
But before you even get up in the air, make sure you don't neglect your pre-flight checkup.
Yes, your pre-flight checkup.
Yeah.
Your frequency, your battery voltage,
flight doctor.
your props, the condition of your airplane.
Yeah.
All those things are very important.
We talked about this in episode 4, I think.
Yeah.
We talked about takeoff and landings.
Yeah.
So make sure you check out all that stuff that you need to check on before you get up into the air. And also weather conditions. You don't want to fly when it's too windy.
I know everyone wants to get in the air and stuff, but you're not going to have a good time flying in a bad environment. So just watch the wind, watch the surroundings behind you, around you, all that stuff.
Be honest with yourself. Pick a plane that's at your skill level. Don't let pride get in the way.
Yeah. It's much better to fly a slow, fun-flying airplane than have something very fast and very stressful.
Right.
You'll get there eventually.
And don't get distracted
by people like chewing your ear off, like how far can it fly, how fast does it go, how much should it cost.
Just elbow that guy right in the face and keep flying.
Don't elbow him in the face. But you know what? If someone's asking a lot of questions, land the plane and then go ahead and address it and then put it back up in the air.
And make sure you don't fly out of range. Keep that thing in its playground.
Yeah, keep it in the playground. Bullies live on the outside of it. Yep, and you know what? If you, God forbid, do crash, it is not the end of the hobby. This is part of growing in the hobby. You have to have a little bit of setbacks to learn. It's just going to make you a better builder, better pilot at the end, because you're going to be able to find out what you did wrong. Then you're going to learn how to fly or build and fix the airplane. That's going to take away the intimidation.
Yeah. Also, you want to make sure that the area that you're flying in, your flying field, is definitely large enough to fly in. You don't want to fly too close to any objects and trees or children. Anything like that.
This doesn't end well. It doesn't go well at all. And also, the slower the plane, the bigger your field's going to feel. If you fly a fast airplane, it's going to chew up all that ground much quicker.
Right. So go slow.
Go slow.
All right. Time for a recap?
Recap time.
Recap. All right. Well, when you crash, it's not the end of the world.
No.
You can do something about it.
Don't hang up your transmitter.
Right. You can normally fix these things.
Yeah.
So you want to look for what happened. What's wrong with it?
Yeah. Check your crap.
That's right. Check your crap. Check your control surfaces.
Rips and tears.
Your angles.
And your power system.
Right. So you want to check your prop. Make sure there's no stress marks on it and that it's going to bend or break.
When in doubt, throw it out too. That goes for your battery as well too. And keep in mind that your plane's going to take the impact usually from the front going backwards.
Yeah.
So always don't neglect things like loose props, dented batteries, stripped servos. Those things are very important even though they're not readily available to the eye.
Yeah. And also make sure you cut that throttle back even if you've crashed. You don't want to burn out your speed controller.
Your speed control, yes, absolutely. Also, follow the linkages back towards it. Check your control surfaces, check your control horns, things like that. Also, put the plane under load, too. When you're looking for damage, you want to simulate, like, the firewall being pulled in the front. You want to make sure that
some stress on it.
Yeah, put some stress on that. You want to make sure the wings don't, have any stress cracks in there.
Yeah.
Put it under the same loads of experience in flight to expose those flaws, and then address them accordingly.
Yeah, check all your internals. Your speed controller, your battery, make sure nothing happens to the battery, got punctured or puffy or anything like that.
And make sure, keep your repairs as simple as possible. You can always go out and buy a new piece if it's a reputable manufacturer. If it's a common airplane, most of the time you can buy a brand new replacement piece. But if you keep your repairs simple and light, oftentimes they'll be very, very strong. But you always want to make sure the final repair is as strong or stronger than the initial initial before crash condition.
Right, and make sure that you're always checking your weather conditions before you fly. Make sure you check everything on your plane before you ever take it up into the air.
And keep in mind, because your plane's usually going to hit nose first, you could have dirt in the motor, you could have bent motor shafts.
Yeah.
Always check that out. Check a new prop, spin the prop, make sure it's not wobbling back and forth.
Make sure your servos are working good, that they're not stripped or any broken teeth.
Yep, and put a little bit of resistance against the servos when you're testing those, because a control surface with no resistance may not expose a problem there. Make sure there's a little bit of resistance, and check the full throws over and over again. You don't want to be in the midair and find out you have a bad servo.
Alright, so we hope this helps you guys. Remember, it's not the end of the world if you crash. It happens all the time to the best of us.
Part of the hobby, but it makes you stronger.
Right. So we want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks for Horizon Hobby for sponsoring this episode, and we'll see you guys next time.